Hello everybody and welcome. A couple of years ago I made some videos about using colour with engraved glass. I was never happy with those. I was in a bit of a rush at the time and I think you deserve better. So I'll try to see if I can go through that in a bit more detail and maybe make a better job of it this time round. People have been using colour with glass for thousands of years. There are beautiful Egyptian examples of coloured glass. But what I'm talking about here is applying colour to the glass. I was lucky enough to go to the MAK, that's the Museum of Applied Arts in Vienna, and I took some pictures of their lovely collection of glass. Now, these are just pictures I've taken myself through the glass cases, so they're not particularly clear perhaps, but I will put a link to the museum's online collection, hopefully, in the description, so you can have a look at them for yourself. The first example here is not engraved at all. It's a moulded glass platter which has been cold painted and then gilded on the reverse. I think made in Venice and made probably in the second half of the 16th century, so 1500 and something. There's no engraving on this, but it does show how colour was being used even at that stage. The second example is a beaker. Now this one has been engraved. It's been engraved with a diamond pointed scribe, which gives these very fine lines, and then it's filled in with cross hatching. And there has been some colour added to that as well. A lacquer paint has been added to it. This one also is a 16th century example, possibly slightly later than the other. Probably the more common way you see colour added is shown in this example, which is a goblet, a cut glass goblet with engraving. And here gold leaf has been used to add some colour and a bit of highlight to it. This is a little bit later than some of the other examples, round about 1760, something like that. What these examples show is that people have always used colour to add some interest to their glass. But what you will see is they haven't tended to add that colour to the engraved sections of the glass. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm talking about adding colour into glass, that's probably more of what I'm interested in. If I look at this example, what I've done is I've used the colour to highlight the design, for example, and I think the majority of us as people who are engraving with a rotary tool, it's that kind of use of the colour that we're interested in. Now, as I say, that's not the traditional way that colour was used with engraved glass. It was used to embellish, to add to it, but not colouring within the engraving. But who's to say that we can't do that if we want to? Let's face it, engraving with a rotary tool isn't traditional either. So if you want to look at how you can add colour into your engraving, then I think you're entitled to do that. So what I'll do is I'll go through some examples of different materials and methods we can use to do that, and how that might look in your finished engraving. For this first video, I will look at probably one of the simpler methods, one that's quite commonly used, which is a material called rub and buff. Now, rub and buff is widely available from craft shops. It comes, the colours you see most commonly are silver and gold, but it does come in other colours. Probably the easiest way to find them would be looking online. But let's have a look and see how that works on the glass. So this material is rub and buff, and I have the silver and the gold, but it does come in other colours. They can be sometimes a bit more difficult to find. You can apply it with a brush, with a cocktail stick, with a cotton wool bud, with the tip of your finger. If I take a little on this brush, I can rub it down into this line of engraving, trying to keep my hand out of the way. And if I then give that a polish off, you may see that it's left a little gold colour in the engraving. Can you use it to just paint on the glass? Is a question that might come to mind, but the reality is no, not really. It doesn't stick. It just cleans right off. If I take my cloth and give that a wipe, it'll just come straight away. As I say, you can apply it with a brush, or you can put a little bit onto the tip of your finger and just rub that into your engraved area. Like that, spreading it out. You do end up with a very colourful fingertip doing that. Spread that around. And if I take my cloth, I can polish that back a little bit. There's a reason it's called Robin Buff. What we end up with is quite a nice highlighted gold colour in the engraved lines. If you find that, particularly if you've been working on something for a while, sometimes the wax can set up a little bit, it can be hard to remove. If that's the case, a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, something like that, onto a cloth will let you take it off. Or you can use the edge of a store card, something like that, and just scrape away any little extra bits. But I think you can see from that how easy this material is to use. Just to let you see it, I'll put a little bit of silver out. Oops, it's a bit more watery. But equally effective when you want to use a bit of colour on your engraving. As I say, it's not really a material for just painting onto the glass. I mean, I suppose in theory I could here. That's very thick, mind you. But that will come straight off, even if I leave it to dry. As soon as I touch that, it's just going to come straight off the surface. There are two questions everybody always asks about the colours you can use for engraving glass. One is it food safe? And the answer in this case is almost certainly not. There is a warning which tells you to avoid ingesting it. It says, if swallowed, get prompt medical attention. Now, that's not to say that, I suppose, in tiny amounts on the edge of a glass or something, maybe it would be okay, I don't know, but certainly I would not be recommending that as being a food safe colouring. Look, I can clean off that silver and it just comes straight away. It doesn't stick to the glass except where there is a roughness in the engraving. The other question that comes up as well as whether it's food safe is it safe? Can I wash it? Can I take it and wash it with the dishes? Now, I can actually scrub this quite hard, and that colour will stay there because it's ingrained into the glass. But I don't think I would ever say that it was entirely safe for washing. Having said that, what I'll do is I'll take it away and I'll give it a little wash with some washing up liquid and hot water and just a sponge. I'm not going to scrub at it with a scourer or anything like that, but I'll give it a little wash and we can see what effect that has on the colour. And having given it a fairly gentle wash with some warm water and some washing up liquid, I have to say it's held up better than I anticipated it would. Having said that, I don't know if you can see, but there are areas, the sort of more raised areas on the glass where it is starting to come away. So it will stand a little gentle washing, but I wouldn't expect that it would be particularly hard wearing. So that's a fairly quick look at one method of adding colour to your engraving, the rub and buff. I will be making a number of small videos looking at different methods. I'll do it as shorter videos so you don't end up having to scroll through a lot of stuff you're not interested in just to find the bit that might be useful to you. So that's all for today. In the next video, I'll maybe look at some things which you may already have in the house that could potentially be used to colour some engraving, perhaps Sharpie pens or acrylic paints. But until then, I hope you found this helpful and enjoy your engraving.